The cause of death was listed as blunt force trauma due to a fall. The medical examiner disagreed, noting that upon detailed examination, lacerations detected on multiple parts of the body suggested sharp force injuries inconsistent with the initial diagnosis. Autopsy findings revealed extensive slicing and puncture wounds across various anatomical regions, indicative of an assault using a blade or similar implement. These observations were significant because they contradicted not only the reported circumstances, but also the preliminary cause of death. The medical examiner's report highlighted the necessity for a comprehensive review of all forensic evidence to accurately determine the sequence of events leading up to the deceased's demise, and to reconcile these discrepancies with the narrative provided by initial investigators. These observations were significant because they contradicted not only the reported circumstances, but also the preliminary cause of death. Chapter: Case Background. The incident under examination occurred on May 15th at a residential address in downtown Seattle. The initial report of the discovery was made by a neighbor who observed an unusual commotion and subsequently contacted local emergency services. Upon arrival, responders found the front door ajar with signs of forced entry evident from marks around the lock mechanism. Inside, the interior appeared disheveled with overturned furniture and drawers pulled out. The deceased was located in the master bedroom, where multiple sharp force injuries were visible on the body. Bloodstains trailed from various locations throughout the room, indicating potential movement after injury infliction. The initial assumption of law enforcement and emergency personnel was that this represented a violent crime, possibly involving an intruder due to the signs of forced entry and the condition of the scene. Further details regarding the nature and extent of injuries sustained by the deceased would be determined through subsequent forensic examination and analysis. Chapter: Initial findings. Upon arrival at the scene, first responders noted an adult male in a supine position on the floor of a residential bedroom. The room was dimly lit and cluttered with personal items. A significant pool of blood was observed beneath the body. No immediate signs of life were detected upon initial assessment. The deceased exhibited multiple sharp force lacerations to the anterior torso, neck, and extremities. Notably, several deep cuts on the left side of the neck suggested potential involvement of a bladed weapon. These injuries were characterized by jagged edges consistent with slicing rather than stabbing. Based on these observations, initial medical assessment classified the manner of death as homicide due to sharp force trauma. The presence of defensive wounds on the hands and forearms indicated resistance against an assailant. The absence of thermal or chemical evidence ruled out alternative causes of injury, such as burns or poisoning. These findings prompted a full forensic investigation to determine weapon type, establish a timeline, and identify potential suspects. Chapter: Forensic Investigation. Upon arrival at the scene, investigators meticulously documented a series of sharp force lacerations on both walls and floors, indicative of a violent altercation or struggle. Bloodstain patterns suggested multiple impacts and directional movements by the deceased. Forensic teams collected trace evidence, including swabs from suspected tool marks and fibers adhered to the weapon discovered near the body. The weapon, consistent with the inflicted injuries, was placed in a sterile container for further analysis. Careful documentation of each item's location and condition ensured an unbroken chain of custody. Notably absent were defensive wounds on the deceased's hands, suggesting incapacitation before the final assault. Unexpectedly, a small amount of foreign DNA was found on the weapon handle, potentially implicating another individual in the incident. In the laboratory analysis of sharp force trauma cases, specific tests are conducted to identify and quantify lacerations on the deceased. Histological examination reveals extensive collagen disruption consistent with cutting or slicing mechanisms. Microscopic analysis confirms the presence of erythrocytes extravasation and hemorrhagic fluid in subcutaneous tissues, indicative of blunt impact prior to incision. Blood alcohol concentration was measured at 0. 15%, suggesting impaired judgment may have influenced behavior leading to injury. Toxicology screens for drug metabolites were negative, ruling out substance use as a contributing factor. Tissue samples from the wound edges showed no signs of bacterial contamination or infection, indicating post-mortem wounding. Measurement of laceration depth and width revealed an average length of 12 centimeters with varying depths up to 5 millimeters, consistent with multiple sharp instruments causing injury. Forensic examination revealed a series of sharp force injuries, consistent with multiple incisions and lacerations sustained by the deceased. Analysis of blood spatter patterns indicated an initial altercation occurring in the victim's kitchen, where defensive wounds were observed on the left arm. Subsequent injuries showed a transition to a bedroom area, suggesting a struggle ensued as the perpetrator pursued the deceased. The presence of decomposition, gases around the body, allowed for estimation of the post-mortem interval, placing death at approximately 48 hours prior to discovery. This timeline was corroborated by witness statements and security footage timestamps, which indicated the victim's last known movements before isolation from public observation. The sequence of injuries contradicted initial speculation that a single assailant inflicted all wounds. Rather, evidence pointed towards multiple individuals involved in the assault. The presence of sharp force trauma, as evidenced by multiple lacerations on the deceased's body, indicates a violent altercation or assault, consistent with the use of a sharp implement, such as a knife or similar edged weapon. Forensic analysis revealed puncture wounds and incised injuries that were both defensive and offensive in nature, suggesting an active struggle between the victim and assailant. The depth and distribution of these lacerations are crucial for determining the sequence of events leading to the deceased's demise. While certain aspects, such as the exact number of blows required or the specific weapon used, may be speculative without corroborative evidence, expert testimony would confirm the presence of sharp force trauma as a definitive cause of death. The pattern and location of injuries support a narrative of aggression and resistance, but require further context from witness statements and additional forensic analysis for comprehensive interpretation. Chapter: Resolution upon thorough examination of the deceased. The primary cause of death was determined to be sharp force trauma, resulting in multiple lacerations to vital organs. Initial findings suggested a single penetrating injury, but subsequent autopsies revealed additional incisions not immediately apparent due to the severity and complexity of the wounds. Microscopic analysis confirmed the presence of fibers consistent with the suspect's weapon under fingernail clippings and on clothing found at the scene, corroborating the pattern of multiple assailant interactions. Further DNA testing identified a unique blood spatter signature originating from the deceased that was transferred to the perpetrator's garments during the altercation. This evidence substantiated the theory of a prolonged struggle, explaining discrepancies in initial witness accounts, which were initially interpreted as isolated events rather than part of an extended assault sequence. In conclusion, the central finding of multiple lacerations due to sharp force trauma was established through comprehensive forensic analysis, including microscopic examination and DNA profiling. These methods conclusively altered our understanding from a singular incident to a complex series of interactions leading to fatal injuries, providing critical insights into the circumstances surrounding the deceased's demise. This case underscores the critical role of meticulous documentation and comprehensive photographic evidence in sharp force trauma cases, highlighting the necessity for precise measurement and detailed description of lacerations. Proper preservation of clothing and surrounding environment provides crucial context for understanding weapon type and mechanism of injury. The file remains open,